Violet Whispers. The abandoned moon of Nalara hung like a forgotten jewel in the vastness of space, its surface scarred by ancient meteor impacts and the ghosts of a civilization long vanished. This desolate place had become home to Princess Aya, last survivor of the Zenovian people, whose empire had been reduced to dust by the Galactic Alliance's pacification protocols. Aya moved silently through the ruins of what once had been a monitoring station, her form gliding through shadows cast by Nalara's violet rings. She had survived here for 3 cycles, living on synthesized nutrients and the faint hope that someday she might find others of her kind. Another day alone, Aya whispered to herself, her voice resonating with the musical quality unique to Zenovians. She touched the smooth wall of the station, feeling the faint energy signatures still pulsing beneath its surface. The technology, of her people responsive to their touch alone, offered small comforts in her isolation. The warning sensors chimed softly, alerting her to an approaching vessel. Aya froze, her luminescent eyes widening with fear and possibility. No one had come to Nalara since the Purge. She quickly activated the station's cloaking field and retreated to her sanctuary deep within the moon's caverns. Dr. Alex Chen hadn't intended to land on Nalara. His research vessel, the Artemis, had suffered a navigation system failure while mapping the outer reaches of the Vega Quadrant. The moon offered a stable landing zone for repairs. Artemis log, Day 347. He spoke into his recorder as the ship's landing strut settled on Nalara's dusty surface. Emergency touchdown on uncharted moon in Sector 12B. Initial readings show breathable atmosphere but no signs of current habitation. Previous civilization indicators present. Chen pulled on his environmental suit more out of protocol than necessity and stepped onto the surface, his boots leaving prints in dust undisturbed for centuries. His scanner swept the area, registering faint energy signatures that shouldn't exist on an abandoned world. "That's odd," he murmured, adjusting the sensitivity of his equipment. "These readings suggest active technology, but everything here looks dead." Curiosity pulled him toward a half-buried structure unlike the others, its architecture more organic, with curves that seemed to flow like frozen water. Inside, the air felt different, charged with something his instruments couldn't identify. Chen removed his helmet, breathing in air that tasted faintly of ozone and something sweet, like jasmine. "Hello?" he called, his voice echoing through the empty chambers. "Is anyone here?" Hidden in her observation alcove, Aya watched the human with a mixture of fear and fascination. She had never seen one up close before, only in transmissions intercepted from Alliance broadcasts. This one seemed different from the soldiers who had destroyed her world, his movements careful, respectful of the space he explored. When Chen approached the central console, Aya knew she had to act. The data crystals stored there contained the last records of her people, knowledge that must not fall into Alliance hands. "Stop," she commanded, stepping from the shadows, her purple skin catching the dim light, creating patterns across the walls. "Those are not for you." Chen spun around, nearly falling in his surprise. Before him stood a being he had only read about in classified reports, thought extinct for years. A Zenovian, her graceful form unmistakable, her eyes holding both wisdom and wariness. "I mean no harm," he said softly, raising his empty hands. "I'm a scientist, not a soldier." Aya regarded him suspiciously. "All humans bring harm to my kind." "I'm not with them," Chen replied, understanding immediately who them referred to. "My name is Alex Chen. I study extinct civilizations, or," he corrected himself, "supposedly extinct." "You are alone?" Aya asked, her head tilted slightly. Chen nodded. "Just me and a malfunctioning ship." He hesitated, then added, "I thought all Zenovians were gone." "They are," Aya said, sadness rippling through her voice. "I am Princess Aya, daughter of Queen Nira, the last of my kind." Their eyes met across the ancient chamber, 2 souls from worlds at war, connected by chance, or perhaps something more. Neither knew that this moment would change not only their lives but the fate of galaxies. Forbidden Protocol. The following days blurred together as Chen worked on repairing his ship while Aya cautiously revealed more about herself and her hidden sanctuary. He learned she had escaped the final assault on Zenobia Prime by fleeing in a royal escort vessel, programmed by her mother to seek refuge in this forgotten outpost. My people built observation posts throughout this sector millennia ago, Aya explained as they walked through crystal-lined tunnels beneath the moon's surface. The Alliance never discovered this one because of its adaptive camouflage technology. Chen marveled at the bioluminescent walls that responded to Aya's proximity, brightening as she passed. This technology is incredible, he murmured. Self-sustaining energy systems that have functioned for centuries without maintenance. Our technology bonds with its creators, Aya said, touching a wall panel that immediately displayed holographic star charts. It's an extension of ourselves, not a tool to be used and discarded. Chen thought of the disposable tech culture of human colonies, always chasing the newest innovation. Humanity could learn from your approach. As his ship repairs neared completion, Chen faced a growing dilemma. Alliance protocol mandated reporting any encounter with non-human intelligent life, especially species previously thought eradicated. But reporting Aya would mean betrayal, likely leading to her capture or worse. One evening, as Nalara's rings cast violet shadows across the landscape, Chen made his decision. He sat beside Aya at the observation dome, watching distant stars pulse in the velvet darkness. I've disabled my ship's automatic reporting systems, he said quietly. No one will know I found you. Aya turned to him, her luminescent eyes searching his face. Why would you risk punishment from your people? Because what happened to your world was wrong, Chen replied, his voice firm. And because I've seen enough in these past days to know there's more to learn from cooperation than conquest. A silence fell between them, comfortable yet charged with unspoken possibility. Tell me about Earth, Aya requested, breaking the quiet. Is it truly as blue as our ancient texts describe? Chen smiled and began describing the oceans and forests of his homeworld, the varied cultures that had survived centuries of conflict to form an uneasy peace.
Aya listened intently, occasionally asking questions that
revealed a perspective so different from human thinking that Chen found himself reconsidering concepts he'd always taken for granted. Your species values individuality. Above all, Aya observed, Zenovians see the collective and individual as inseparable, like threads in a tapestry. Is that why your technology responds to you? Chen asked. A shared consciousness. Not exactly, Aya explained, guiding his hand to touch a crystal formation. Under his fingers, it remained inert. When she placed her hand beside his, the crystal glowed faintly. When she twined her fingers with his, the crystal burst into brilliant illumination, projecting images of Zenovian architecture around them. Chen gasped at the beauty of the lost civilization, spires of crystalline material reaching toward alien skies, structures that seemed to grow organically from the planet's surface. Together, we create something new, Aya said softly, her hand still entwined with his. Neither fully Zenovian nor human, but something unique. The implications of her words hung in the air between them. Chen was acutely aware of her touch, the slight electrical current that seemed to pass between their skin, the way her purple complexion caught the starlight. Your ship is nearly repaired, Aya stated, a question hidden within the observation. Yes, Chen acknowledged. I should be able to leave within 2 days. And then? Aya's voice carried a vulnerability he hadn't heard before. Chen hadn't allowed himself to think beyond repairs, beyond this unexpected encounter that had shifted his understanding of everything. Alliance regulations, his research mission, his life back in human space, all seemed distant and somehow less important than the being beside him. I don't know, he admitted. I can't stay indefinitely, but I can't just leave you here alone either. Perhaps, Aya suggested, her voice barely above a whisper. You could return? Bring knowledge we could share, but tell no others of this place. The request contained an intimacy that transcended species boundaries, a trust that Chen knew was as precious as it was dangerous. I would like that, he replied, squeezing her hand gently. What neither of them knew was that the Artemis's distress beacon had activated during the crash landing, broadcasting briefly before Chen had shut it down. That single pulse had been enough for Alliance monitoring stations to register an anomaly, enough for Admiral Kai Cooper to dispatch a reconnaissance vessel to investigate a moon that officially contained nothing of interest. As Aya and Chen continued their cultural exchange, learning each other's languages and customs, sharing meals adapted to both their physiologies, the Alliance vessel, Silent Hunter entered the outer reaches of the system, its stealth technology making it invisible to the antiquated sensors of the Zenovian outpost. On its bridge, Commander Sarah Renna reviewed the mission parameters with growing unease. Her orders were explicit: investigate the source of the distress signal, determine if non-human contact had occurred, and sanitize any potential threats to Alliance security. The term sanitize left little room for interpretation. Set course for Nalara, she ordered. Passive scans only. Let's see what Dr. Chen has found that's worth hiding from the Alliance. Back on the moon's surface, beneath a sky neither had been born under, Chen taught Aya about Earth music while she showed him how Zenovians perceive sound as both vibration and color. Neither suspected that the brief moment of peace they had found together was about to shatter. Hunted stars. The Silent Hunter entered Nalara's orbit under cover of the moon's magnetic storms, its advanced cloaking systems rendering it invisible to both conventional sensors and the naked eye. Commander Sarah Renna studied the tactical display, noting the energy signatures emanating from what should have been an uninhabited rock. Life signs, she inquired, her voice betraying nothing of her thoughts. 2 confirmed, her sensor officer reported. 1 human consistent with Dr. Chen's biometric profile. The other, he hesitated, recalibrating his equipment. The other is Zenovian. A tense silence fell across the bridge. The Zenovians were supposed to be extinct, eliminated during the purification campaigns a decade earlier. Their supposed ability to influence technology with thought alone had been deemed too dangerous to the Alliance's technological supremacy. Confirm that reading, Renna ordered, her fingers drumming against the command console. Confirmed, Commander. Zenovian life sign, female, showing royal genetic markers. Renna's expression darkened. A royal survivor complicated matters exponentially. She opened a secure channel to Alliance headquarters. Admiral Cooper, we have confirmation of Zenovian survival and possible fraternization by a human researcher. Cooper's holographic form materialized before her, his weathered face set in grim lines. Capture both subjects. The human faces charges of treason. The Zenovian is to be contained using Protocol Omega-7. No communication with either subject is authorized. Understood, Admiral, Renna responded, closing the channel. She turned to her tactical officer. Prepare a strike team. Stunners for the human, psionic dampeners for the Zenovian. We move at 0300 hours. Below on Nalara's surface, Chen and Aya were oblivious to the threat descending upon them. They had ventured beyond the outpost to a crystal forest where formations grew like trees, resonating with subtle harmonies as wind passed through them. These formations are actually living organisms, Aya explained, touching a crystal column that hummed in response. They communicate through vibrations too subtle for most species to detect. Chen recorded the sounds with his research equipment, fascinated by the complex patterns. It's like they're singing to each other. They are, Aya confirmed, smiling at his understanding. My people would come here to listen when seeking clarity or peace. Chen looked at her, struck by how the light filtering through the crystals cast rainbow patterns across her purple skin. In the days they'd spent together, he'd found himself increasingly drawn to her. Her wisdom, her resilience, the way she viewed the universe through a lens so different from human perspective. I've been thinking about what happens next, Chen said, lowering his recording device. My research mission allows for independent study. I could arrange extended stays here, bring supplies, equipment that might help restore more of the outpost systems. Aya's expression softened. You would divide your life between worlds? I would, Chen said, surprised by how certain he felt. There's more to learn here than anywhere else I've studied, and he hesitated, then continued. I've never met anyone like you, on any world. Aya moved closer, the electrical aura that surrounded all Zenovians intensifying with her proximity. When she spoke, her voice carried both hope and warning. Relationships between our peoples were forbidden even before the war. Such connections were said to create unpredictable energy patterns. Is that why your people were feared? Chen asked gently. Because of what happens when our energies combine? Instead of answering with words, Aya reached out, her fingers hovering just above his cheek. May I show you? Chen nodded, and Aya's fingers made contact with his skin. Immediately, he felt a surge of sensation, not just physical touch, but a cascade of impressions. Colors he couldn't name, emotions without human equivalents, memories that weren't his own yet somehow felt familiar. He gasped at the intensity of the connection. "That's how my people share understanding," Aya explained, withdrawing her hand. "A glimpse of consciousness beyond physical bounds." "It's beautiful," Chen whispered, still reeling from the experience. Their moment of connection was shattered by an alarm from Chen's communicator. He checked the display, confused by the readings. "Something's entered Nalara's atmosphere. A ship, but my sensors can't identify it." Aya's expression transformed into one of fear. "Alliance hunters," she said with certainty. "They've found us." They rushed back toward the outpost, Chen's mind racing through possibilities. The Artemis wasn't fully repaired, but it might be their only chance of escape. As they crested a ridge overlooking the outpost, they saw the Alliance dropship already descending. Its angular form a stark contrast to the organic architecture of the Zenovian structure. "We need to reach my ship," Chen said urgently. "There's a maintenance tunnel that connects to the landing pad." Aya shook her head. "They'll have it surrounded. Our only chance is the ancient transit system beneath the outpost." "Transit system?" Chen asked, surprised. "You never mentioned." "It was a last resort," Aya cut in. "The system is unstable, designed for Zenovian physiology. For you, it could be dangerous." "More dangerous than what's waiting for us if we're captured," Chen countered. A silent understanding passed between them. They changed direction, heading toward an inconspicuous rock formation that Aya activated with a complex gesture. A section of ground slid away, revealing a steep passage downward. As they disappeared into the passage, the first Alliance soldiers fanned out across the outpost, their scanners leading them toward the crystal forest. Commander Rena surveyed the abandoned research equipment they'd found. "They were just here," she noted. "Find them. Use whatever force necessary on the human, but I want the Zenovian alive." Deep beneath the surface, Aya led Chen through tunnels that pulsed with faint bioluminescence. "These passages connect all the Zenovian outposts in this sector," she explained as they ran. "If we can reach the transit hub, we might be able to access a functional pod." "Where would it take us?" Chen asked, struggling to keep pace with Aya's naturally greater agility. "Anywhere but here," she replied grimly. The coordinates for most destinations were lost with Zenovia Prime, but any refuge is better than Alliance captivity. As they descended deeper, the sounds of pursuit echoed behind them, boots on stone, orders being barked, the distinctive whine of Alliance energy weapons powering up. "They're gaining on us," Chen warned, checking the small sidearm he carried for research protection. Its charge showed nearly empty, useless against armored Alliance troops. Aya's eyes glowed brighter with determination. "We're almost there." She pressed her palm against a seemingly solid wall which rippled like water before dissolving, revealing a vast chamber beyond. Chen stared in awe at the space before them. A massive underground dock where sleek crystalline transport pods sat in cradles, untouched for centuries. Most had cracked with age, but one at the far end still gleamed with the same luster as the crystals in the forest above. "That one," Aya said, pointing. "It still holds power." As they sprinted toward it, the first stun blast hit the wall beside them, sending fragments of crystal showering around them. Chen turned to see Alliance soldiers pouring into the chamber, Commander Rena at their lead. "Dr. Alexander Chen," she called out, her voice amplified by her tactical helmet. "By authority of the Galactic Alliance, you are ordered to surrender and remand the Zenovian into our custody." Chen positioned himself between the soldiers and Aya. "Run," he whispered to her. "Get to the pod. I'll hold them off." "Not without you," Aya insisted, her eyes fixed on his with an intensity that brooked no argument. Behind them, Commander Rena raised her hand, signaling her troops to advance. Crystal Heart. The Alliance soldiers advanced with practiced precision, weapons trained on Chen and Aya. Commander Rena's voice echoed through the ancient chamber. "Last warning, Dr. Chen. Stand down." Chen held his ground, knowing his small sidearm would do little against their armor. "Aya, please go. They'll kill you." Instead of retreating, Aya stepped forward, her purple skin beginning to emit a subtle glow that intensified with each heartbeat. "They destroyed my world," she said, her voice unnaturally calm. "They will not take what little I have left." Before Chen could stop her, Aya raised her hands and unleashed a pulse of energy that had remained dormant within royal Zenovian bloodlines for generations. The wave rippled visibly through the air, striking the Alliance technology with devastating effect. Their weapons sparked and died, armor systems failed, and communication devices exploded in bursts of light. Rena staggered backward, her face contorted with rage. "Containment protocol now!" But her troops were in disarray, their equipment useless against Aya's unexpected display of power. Chen seized the moment, grabbing Aya's hand and pulling her toward the waiting transport pod. Her skin burned hot against his, energy still crackling around her. "You never told me you could do that," he gasped as they reached the pod. "I wasn't certain I could," Aya admitted, her voice weak from exertion. "It's an ability only used in dire need." The pod responded to her touch, its crystalline surface becoming translucent as an entrance appeared. They tumbled inside just as the first soldiers regrouped, firing manual projectile weapons that ricocheted off the pod's surface. "How do we activate it?" Chen asked frantically. Aya placed both hands on the control interface, closing her eyes in concentration. By remembering. The pod hummed to life, ancient systems awakening after centuries of dormancy. It rose smoothly from its cradle, hovering momentarily before accelerating into a tunnel that opened before them, leaving the shouts and weapons fire far behind. As they sped through the subterranean network, Aya collapsed against Chen, exhausted from channeling such intense energy. He cradled her, noticing with alarm how her normally vibrant skin had dulled to a paler shade. "What's happening to you?" he asked, fear evident in his voice. "The power comes at a cost," she explained weakly. "Our life force and our energy are intertwined." Chen held her closer, realizing with sudden clarity how deeply he had come to care for this being from another world. "Tell me how to help you." Aya looked up at him, her eyes still luminescent despite her weakened state. "Just stay," she whispered. "Connection strengthens my people. Isolation weakens us. It's why I was fading on Nalara before you came." Understanding dawned on Chen. The Zenovians weren't just social creatures. They were symbiotically dependent on connection. In isolating Aya, the Alliance had enacted a crueler punishment than they knew. "I'm not going anywhere," he promised, pressing his forehead to hers in a gesture that transcended cultural differences. The pod slowed as it entered a larger chamber, eventually coming to rest in what appeared to be an abandoned hub station. Through viewport crystals, they could see they were deep underground in what had once been a thriving Zenovian outpost. "Where are we?" Chen asked, helping Aya to her feet. "Aerelia," she replied, recognition lighting her features. "A trading post between my people and the Solarian collective." "The Solarians?" Chen's academic excitement momentarily overcame his concern. "They're thought to be myths in human archives." "Not myths," came a voice from the shadows of the station. "Just very selective about our company." They turned to see a tall figure emerge from a concealed doorway, humanoid but with skin that seemed to absorb and reflect light simultaneously. Behind this being stood others of similar appearance, their expressions cautious but not hostile. "I am Isabel of the Solarian Resistance," the figure announced. "And you've just arrived in the last free outpost in the quadrant." Beyond the void, the Solarian Resistance base bustled with activity as beings from a dozen worlds worked together, united by opposition to Alliance dominance. Chen watched in amazement as Aya, her strength returning under Isabel's care, became a symbol of hope to these disparate rebels. The last Zenovian royal, thought dead by the galaxy, was very much alive. "Admiral Cooper's fleet has mobilized," reported Kai, a former Alliance tactical officer who had defected years ago. "They're systematically searching all known Zenovian outposts." "They'll find us eventually," Isabel concluded, her luminous form shifting with concern. Chen studied the star charts displaying the approaching Alliance vessels. "What if we stopped running?" he suggested. "What if we made a stand?" All eyes turned to him, skepticism evident in many faces. "The Alliance outguns us 100 to 1, Kai objected. "But they don't understand what we have," Chen countered, looking at Aya. The Zenovian ability to interface with technology, combined with Solarian light manipulation, together they could create something the Alliance has never encountered. Over the next days, an audacious plan took shape. While the Resistance prepared their few ships, Aya and Chen worked with Isabel to modify the ancient Zenovian technology beneath the outpost. They would not flee, but neither would they fight on the Alliance's terms. The night before Cooper's fleet was expected to arrive, Chen found Aya alone in the crystal garden that grew within the outpost's central dome. Her purple skin had regained its luminescence, glowing softly in the dim light. "Tomorrow everything changes," he said, sitting beside her on a bench formed from living crystal. "Perhaps," she replied, taking his hand. "Or perhaps we merely reveal what has always been possible." Chen looked at their intertwined fingers, human and Zenovian, different in form, yet so compatible in essence. "When I crashed on Nalara, I was searching for evidence of extinct civilizations. Instead, I found a future I never imagined." Aya's free hand touched his face, initiating the connection they now shared regularly. Through it flowed not just her thoughts but her emotions. Fear for tomorrow, hope for what might follow, and something deeper that needed no translation across species. "Whatever happens," she said softly, "you brought light back to my world when I thought only darkness remained." Their kiss bridged more than physical differences. It connected two souls who had found in each other a completion neither had known they sought. Morning brought the Alliance fleet, its massive command ship breaking through the atmosphere with dozens of fighters in formation behind it. On the command bridge, Admiral Cooper watched the seemingly defenseless outpost with grim satisfaction. "Commence bombardment," he ordered. "Leave nothing standing." The first volley of energy weapons discharged from the fleet, streaking toward the outpost, only to encounter a shield unlike any the Alliance had faced. Where the blast struck, the shield absorbed their energy, transforming it into prismatic light that rippled across the barrier's surface. Deep within the outpost, Aya and Isabel stood at the heart of a crystalline chamber, their combined energies powering the ancient defense system. Chen monitored the interfaces, relaying information between the resistance fighters and the power core. "It's holding," he called out as the Alliance's second volley struck with even less effect. Cooper's face contorted with rage as his weapons proved useless. "Launch ground forces!" "I want that technology intact." Dropships descended, but as they approached, Aya concentrated her energy through the outpost's systems. Every piece of Alliance technology that crossed the barrier simply stopped functioning, rendered useless by the same power that had disabled Rena's troops. "We can't hold this forever," Isabel warned, her form flickering with exertion. "We don't need forever," Chen replied. "Just long enough." On screens throughout the outpost, they watched as the Resistance's message broadcast across every channel in the galaxy. Footage of the surviving Zenovian princess, testimony from defected Alliance officers about the genocide, evidence of cooperation between species long thought incompatible. As millions watched, Admiral Cooper's fleet hung immobilized above Arelia, a visible symbol of Alliance vulnerability. In council chambers across settled worlds, debates erupted as the carefully constructed narrative of human superiority crumbled. 3 days later, as Aya and Chen stood together watching distant ships arrive from worlds long neutral in the conflict, Isabel approached with news that seemed impossible days earlier. "The Galactic Council has called for immediate cessation of hostilities and recognition of sovereign rights for all sentient species," she announced. "Admiral Cooper has been relieved of command pending investigation. The path forward would not be simple. Centuries of prejudice and fear would not vanish overnight. But as representatives from a dozen worlds gathered in the outpost's great hall, something new began to take shape. In the center of the assembly, a human scientist and a Zenovian princess stood hand in hand, living proof that the universe held possibilities beyond what either of their peoples had imagined. "You were meant to confirm my extinction," Aya whispered to Chen as they watched delegates from former enemy worlds cautiously begin to communicate. "No," he replied, echoing words that seemed written in the stars. "I was meant to find you,